Good morning, everyone. This is Chad Musgrove of ProAd Insight. Also, have another website called Pay Per Click Truth. And I am, when it comes to Photoshop, I am a complete rookie. Literally, have had it for a couple of months and been playing around with cropping backgrounds and things like that. And you can see on my website here, I've got this image that is clearly a ping image with the background. The original image, I was standing there with my hand on a chair, and I decided to create this little, whatever you want to call it, just create this image here with my hand on this text box, so I'm talking to my visitors, etc. So anyhow, I thought I'd put together a quick little video showing how I did that. I've got a newly updated image, a couple of them that I'm going to end up cropping, do headshots for my other website over here, on the blog. Yes, I realize these are shameless plugs, but what the heck. Anyway, so for my gravatar that you use whenever you publish things on the web, for my author tags, I don't want to have this full body shot. I just want a headshot. So the first step is going to be to remove the background, and then I can crop it out. So thought I'd make a video showing how to remove the background using Photoshop from a total newbie's perspective. Hope it helps. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our Photoshop, and I've got an image already selected for this. I just took it today. So I'm going to drag this image into here. And starting in Photoshop, the first thing that you always have to do is in your layers panel, you need to double click on this just to create a new layer out of this original image so that you can edit that layer. And also, I want to preface this as before I continue by saying that by no means am I an expert in Photoshop. This is just how I do it as a noob, and sometimes it works fairly well. So anyhow, continuing on. First thing you want to do is grab your quick selection tool, not the, I don't like to use the magic wand. This selection tool is pretty darn good. And then using Control Plus on a PC, I have no idea what it is on a Mac because I don't own one. I like to zoom in. You can move this image around instead of dragging here with these. You can move the image around by pressing the space bar, and the hand will come up, and then you can just drag it around. So I like to, for the initial selection, I like to have it zoomed out fairly well. And then using the right bracket and left bracket, you can enlarge and minimize your, you can select your brush size. So just start selecting all the background stuff here. And as you can see, it's a fairly simple process when you've got a white background, or in this case my wall. That's why I took the picture in this wall. I'm going to go ahead and just select all the carpet down here. Don't worry if Photoshop does something like this. All you're going to do is minimize your brush. And then if you're using the Alt key, it'll switch from a plus to a minus, and you'll deselect these areas here. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect these areas. And use Control Plus and zoom in a bit more. Shrink my brush down, and then I'm going to go ahead and select the stuff in between the legs here. Pressing spacebar to move this around. Again, doesn't have to be all that exact at this moment. So as you can see, that's pretty much selected. Don't worry about the ears and the hair here. It's pretty much selected the entire background. So now we can get into a little more detail. And again, this doesn't have to be precise, but you can get into a little bit more detail here by zooming in and shrinking your brush. And Photoshop does a really good job. I'm pressing and holding and dragging here, by the way, and then let go, and you'll see what it's selected in there. It does a really good job of getting all these little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to enlarge my brush with the right bracket for this area because it's a little bit bigger. And just click and drag and let Photoshop do its work. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here while I fine-tune the rest of these little nooks and crannies here, but you get the idea. So I'll pause it and come back once I'm moving to the next step. Okay, so as you can see here, I've pretty much selected the entire, all the background, the little nooks and crannies in here I've taken care of. And I got some pretty good detail. The more you zoom in and the smaller you make your brush, you'll see here I actually selected these shadows and it did a pretty darn good job of selecting it for me. So one other area I've always noticed when cropping backgrounds is the earlobes. It seems to often miss this little nook up in most people's earlobes. So I like to zoom in. I don't like to get all that pixelated as much as I can, and then just select it. And like I said, Photoshop will do a great job, and it's a lot more selective when your brush is smaller. It gets down to the pixels. So you can do this however whatever detail you want, but don't nitpick over this too much because once we move into the next stage, you'll see you can clean up some of those things. So that's pretty good for what we're doing. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section and cropping this image. And that's going to be taking this image. What we need to do now, remember, we've selected the background. So one thing we can do is we can just hit delete. And if you're happy with that, you can just save that. In my case, I'm going to undo that action because I like to clean these edges up a bit. And what you can do is you can select the inverse, and now it'll actually pick, you notice now it's actually chosen everything inside. So I like to take that, and then the next step is to refine the edge here, and you see it puts you on a white background so you can see the details of what your changes are doing. And typically I like to focus up around the ears and area here to see what my details do. The smart radius, sometimes I don't use that, sometimes I do. I'll go extreme here just to show you what it does. You'll see that it'll change. It cleans up everything, kind of gives you a little blur around the edges and stuff. I prefer, if I'm going to do something like this, to have a nice sharp edge, so I don't do that. I will sometimes smooth out my edge by a couple of pixels. I might feather it by 1 pixel or so, just to clean it up. Or the smooth, actually, sorry, I stand corrected. The smooth I like to turn up around 50 or so. It does a pretty good job of smoothing out these edges. And then the feather, usually I don't like to go too high on background crops for people. So now you're going to select this decontaminate colors. It'll default to new layer with layer mask. You say OK, and now you'll have a new layer with a mask that you can, this is where you can clean this up and refine it. So now to clean this up, as I was saying earlier, you can really get into some detail here and clean up all of these edges. And what you do is you select this mask that Photoshop created for you, and then you're going to pick the brush tool. There it is. And again, using the right and left brackets, you can shrink or enlarge this, which will control the detail that you're able to, how detailed you're able to get on this. So if I zoom in quite a bit here, you can see that around this earlobe here, I'm still missing some, it's kind of blurred together. It makes me look like I got a big fat earlobe. So what I'm going to do on this one is erase some of this. So the foreground background here, you'll see if you have this selected on the back, you bring the black to the front, then as you can see, it just erases. And if you do the exact opposite, you can return the original sections from this original layer here. So if I make this large just to demonstrate this, and I click and drag across, see I brought that section back. So what I like to do is go around and clean up these edges first. So as you see here, I can really do a good number here, and I can get that even smaller, zoom in a little bit more, not too much, and I can really clean this earlobe up a bit, and the shadows on it. So when I zoom out, now I actually have an ear, and not just a blur where my earlobe should be. And then do the same on this side. Careful to erase only the shadows and stuff. And I did one other earlier image of me in a different shirt. And one thing I noticed is the angle I took this picture at, that it really gave me some, like this weird bulge. I don't know if it's all shadow or whatever. So it's the beauty of Photoshop. You got a couple imperfections you don't like, you get to clean them up. So I'm going to make my brush a bit larger here and just drop down here and get rid of this, my jowls, I guess they would be. Being very careful not to overdo it. You still want it to look natural. And remember, this is zoomed way in, so if I zoom out on that image, it's going to look, I mean, that's going to be more what's on the website in the long run, so it's going to look really nice. And another area I noticed that I cleaned up on my old one also was the shirt here, where the shirt kind of puffed out. You're able to literally just kind of clean this up a little bit. And as you can see, I'm rather slender, so I don't want you to think I'm cheating too bad in Photoshop to make myself look like somebody that I'm not. I run an awful lot, so this is more a personal preference. I just don't like the way my shirt's puffing out here. So I decided to clean that up. So I'm going to pause, make a few more corrections, clean it up, and then I'll show you how to save it. I'll be back in a few. Thanks. Okay, so I'm now at a point where I'm pretty happy with the cleanup I've done, and just to kind of show you what I did on this image, what I'll do here is go ahead and zoom out a bit so you can see, I'll probably use something about that size on the website, and ultimately I'll probably crop out for a headshot also. But as you can see, if I, reveal the background layer here, I've made some, I don't want to call them drastic changes, but I've cleaned up spots where if you look here, if you look down here where the clothes bunch, excuse me, I've cleaned up these quite a bit so that it, just has more of it looks like my clothes fit a lot better. So anyhow, that's the final crop. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So all you do is select the layer. I actually don't know if you even need to do that, and just hit File, Save As, and you probably already know this part, but choose your folder, save it as a ping, and you can see my blue shirt one I did there earlier. I'm going to save this one as purple shirt in my professional image folder, and voila, as soon as it's done I'll show you the blue shirt one I did earlier. Actually, I like that one a lot better, and I didn't clean up the pant leg. I might reveal this again, so actually, right after this is done, I'll show you how to do that. I almost think it looks more natural to have the pant leg revealed there. So 1 minute here, there we go. Now it's saved as a ping image. So with the brush selected and the layer mask selected, what we're going to do is leave it on the black, and we're just going to paint this. Oops, wrong way. Undo, flip it. I lied, put it on the white, and I'll paint this back in with a larger brush and show you what I took out. Oh, there it is. Starting to see that pant line there. So I can flip it back around now and subtract this. Zoom in just a touch more, and you'll see the detail of the pant leg right there. So this is a lot closer to what the way my clothes bunched up. Sorry, I'm starting to babble on talking to myself here. Not going to be precise. I just wanted to show you more what it looks like. This is all really just personal preference as to whether or not you leave the bunches of clothes in areas, weird areas that get revealed, in images maybe you don't like. So yeah, get an idea there. It's more bunched up. I just thought I'd clean that up. So that's it. That's cropping yourself out of a background. Hope it helps you guys, and have a great day.